What's going on, everybody? It's TheLetterLBeats. I'm doing this video for the University of Illinois Art of Beatmaking class. This is kind of an advanced look at sequencing. So what I'm going to do is I have my sound kit, Trap Synth Wave. I put out a couple weeks ago. I'll put a link to that. And actually, if you're in the class, you're going to get that for free. Basically, what I'm going to do is take this, and it's kind of an already built loop. What I'm going to do is build it into a full hook and then kind of show you some of the choices I make to transition it to a verse. Last time what I did was just I showed you a beat I already had made. I pointed out the sections and showed you the transitions. Now I just want to kind of illustrate how I got to that point. So let me go ahead and drag and drop these. Okay, let's see real quick everything. So this is a 16 bar loop. Alright, so this is 16. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and cut this in half to the kind of the principal full part. And I'm going to make a copy of it. So now we got what will kind of be the hook section and then what will kind of be the verse section. Okay, so I already have what? Melody, counter melody. I got melody, counter melody, and an 808. So what I need to add real quick, and I'm not going to take too much time, I'm going to add a quick set of drums. Okay, we got a full percussion set here. All right. And so I'm just going to play it real quick. It's going to, just repeat over and over again like, the full hook. So and I'm going to show you how we get to paring it down. Second part over here just repeats just the same as this over here. So if we look at this as our hook, the first thing I want to do is separate the hook from the start of the verse, right? And so like I had said in the last video, when you're doing the hook, you're just when you're doing the verse, you're just re-experiencing the hook in a little bit more of a stripped down fashion. So I want to experiment with taking some sounds out, and I'll isolate this part. So we'll kind of see what sounds right. All right, so I took that bent square out, which is kind of like a dominant sound. It's a good lead that's good for the hook. So I might want to strip that down and leave that only for the hook. So let's take a look at the rest of it. So we took out that kind of bent square lead, right? When you go from the hook to the verse, one thing I found in my experience is that you kind of want to drop the 808 out for the first little bit. I mean, it's an option. You could leave it in. But you want to kind of start dropping stuff out to create that build up from here at the beginning of the verse to here at the end of the verse, right? So sometimes I drop the 808 out, but what I'll do is I'll leave the one that hits on the one out, just because if not, it doesn't quite feel right. And I just kind of want to illustrate that real quick. Now you heard the hook. Or excuse me, you heard the kick drum. Because the kick drum is there, what I might do is go ahead and leave that 808 out. Because you just need something that's, because watch what happens when I take that kick out. It sounds weird when you transition. How does that sound? And so I'm kind of illustrating my process. I'm judging how that sounds. I wouldn't necessarily do that from a verse, from a hook to a verse, but what I might do is do it like that when I'm doing like the breakdown of the bridge. So I want to leave the kick And I think what I'm going to do is just do like the one kick, that one hit right here, and then bring it back in. And what I'm going to do is have my 808 come in on the second half of the verse. So let's see how that sounds. All right, so we're starting to get there. So one thing, what I want to do is pull this 808 back just to create a sense of transition, to create a sense of dropout. Kind of this part being gone, let you know, okay, that's the end of that pattern. We're going to move on to this. Okay, let's see it. Okay, I want to do the same thing with the hi-hat down here. Just take a little edge off to let you know, okay, we moving. And I have this transition noise. I always put like these little transition noises. Because if you see, like, there's like a lot of little pieces of ear candy here that kind of fill up a track, which is important. But this noise, in addition to that, those dropouts are kind of what let you know, hey, we're going to the next part. And what I might do here is just, since I know I got this little part right here, I'll stop the hi-hats before we get to that noise. So let's hear it. So we're continuing to create that sense of dropout. Let's see what happens when we take this kick out here too. Same thing. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave that out. I want that to stay in there. So the other thing is, especially with this lead square, sometimes you may want to drop that out. Here's a little technique I do. I'll go to like the last eighth, and then I just reverse it to give it a little, you know, something different to change it up. It's a very subtle thing. Here, I'll solo it so you can hear it better. It's a very subtle thing, but it creates a little bit more of a change up. So I like that, so I'm gonna leave that. Okay, cool. So now we're building this transition. What do we have right here? Okay, so what I have is two transition noises, and I don't want them stacked on each other. So here they are. So I'm gonna opposite them, because what I used to do when I was early on Beatmaker, I would take this same transition noise. Oh, I want it here because I'm putting it at the end of every four. But what I want to do is change it up and have a variety. So I got two different ones. So I'm gonna have this one here, opposite of this one. You kind of see how that does the same thing over here, right? All right, so I kind of like how that sounds. It's a good feeling of we're gonna drop out and change. Left the kick, left this. You know what? I think I'm gonna pull this back a little bit too. So this is just another one of the melodic elements. Okay, so in trap music, you know, you want to have the hi-hat in as much as possible, but you do want to, you know, leave room for the transition piece. So I'm just gonna take out, say, let's say the first bar. See how that sounds. And sometimes, because you want to keep the bounce, but you also want to, what are the words I'm looking for? You want to keep the bounce, but if you leave that hi-hat in all the time, it's going to get annoying. So you need change-ups. Here we go. So basically what this skill is about is just audio editing, right? Audio or MIDI editing. It's just about creating that buildup, right? So when you have these things dropped out here, you know, it kind of creates that sense of, all right, we're building to something new. So I got my kick in here. Where did I take the 808 at? So I got the 808 not even coming back in until halfway through. So there's a clear distinction between the first part, I'll put the cursor here, the first part of the verse and the second part of the verse, right? Now I want to point this out. These other percussive elements, these create buildup because you have something that needs to be taken out, right? So always, like, as you, what I would recommend, like I said in the last video, build your hook first. Like, build up your hook first, and then that way you can break it down. If you're a little more advanced, sometimes that can get boring. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll take one, you know, part of the beat and then build it out as, you know, intro, first half of the hook, second half of the hook, verse, and then I'll build everything else like that. This is really what I recommend if you're just starting out, okay? So I want to continue this. Let's see what else, like from a melodic standpoint, that we could drop out at the beginning. And again, I'm creating this buildup, right? So ooh, I like that. What I want to do is kind of half that. So I want to have that come in and out kind of the same way as the hi-hats, right? It comes in, you don't know if we're back there yet. You don't know if we're back to the building part yet, so it kind of keeps you guessing. I hope this makes sense. I hope this makes sense. And same thing here, because this goes all through the hook. So I don't even mind like pulling it out a little bit just to still give you some variation and difference. So hopefully you can see how we kind of built that from front to back. And again, it's just like you see here, like with this particular one, it's out the first half of the, the first half of the first half of the first verse, like the first quarter, then comes back in the second quarter, drops back out the third quarter, comes back in. Now again, on this end, we're gonna create build-up, not build-up, but like a dropout transition feel to come back to the top of the hook, right? So I'm gonna do a couple techniques. First of all, remember our reverse technique, right? So I'm gonna try that again here. Let's see how that sounds. Let's solo that and see how it sounds. Okay, and then here's the other thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna bring this back. This is just that little reverse part from the end where I had that lead. Create, you know, it gives you another feel of like we're going back into it. So let's go ahead and pull out that part of the 808 again. Like, hey, it's going away. We're getting ready to go into another part. Same thing here. I'm going to pull this back a little bit. And let's see what pulling this back a little bit. You don't want your transition to be the exact same at every point. The transitions where it goes from the verse to the hook should be different when it goes from the hook to the verse. All right, so I like that. And again, you got that sound, or transition sound, right? When you hear those little ear candy sounds that go, you know, sound effects or screams and stuff, you don't want to use those all throughout the beat. You want those to be like transition points or ear candy to kind of mark you like, okay, the next section. Like this particular part right here, this triangle. That's, as much as that is a percussive element, it's also an indicator that we're moving to the next part of the verse, right? I want to go ahead and take these hi-hats out too at that point. And then let's see how this sounds. All right, so I want to create a little more dropout just to make that transition more dramatic. So let's see here. Let's make sure these hi-hats are behind this sound so it's like a clear delineation. So maybe even take this last kick out. That's much better. That's much better. And also, I think I want, like, right here, really my transition is about, if you think about where this reverse is, the transition is about 1/8 of a bar long, a little longer when you factor in this noise. The transition here is a little longer, like a whole half bar, just to give it some more drama. I could even maybe pull this part back too. Henny the Business is I think we're watching one of his videos this week. Big on teaching me a lot about transition. When he does his videos, there's always this part that goes edit, edit, edit. And I really wish he would show that more, because that's a process that does need to be unpacked. It's a little tedious, it's a little boring, but that's how you learn. So I feel good about this. Let's listen to this from the beginning in. So essentially, we're going to listen to it from the beginning of the verse into the hook. And I might even, now that I'm thinking about it, I might even have a little quick trick that we can do a quick intro to. Okay, here we go. So on second thought, when I hear that sound, I want to put the 808 back in there because that kick is kind of weak without it. So I'm going to bring the 808 in on just that one. Where's my 808? There we go. So just to make that one hit strong, and then the rest of it's going to go. We'll drop it back out. So let's hear how that sounds. See how that kind of sounds better, because you still want it to be strong at the top of the one, but you want to give your illusion of dropout. I really hope this is helping. I'm explaining this well. And I want to even do one more thing to delineate the transition from the first half of the hook verse to the second half of the verse. So pull this back a little bit, see how it sounds. I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. So it's just really, again, it's just about these little edits that show your transition, right? You build up the big 8-bar, maybe you have everything in it, and then you kind of edit it down to get to your sequence. I want to hear that one more time. All right, so I want to say this. Music has changed so much in the last 10 years. Sometimes verses are, the same length as the hook. Sometimes they're a little longer. The verses are getting shorter and shorter. Migos have perfected the 8-bar verse at this point. So it kind of depends on who you're making your record for. So hopefully this video was informative as far as not just seeing the sequence parts, but how you build the sequence parts. Hopefully it's clear how you can build a transition, and we'll go from there. Let me know what you think.